Spiral Throwers, welcome back. Today, a much requested review video, the NFL Duke, made by Wilson. What is there to say about this ball? There's lots to say. We'll get into some of the details. First and foremost, I want to note that you guys are owed a great deal of thanks. This channel has gotten a ton of views in the last 6-7 months. And since I started doing the reviews more frequently, things have only picked up. I wouldn't have been able to do all this stuff without you guys. So thank you for that, number one. Number two, I see the comments about balls you want me to review. I've heard stuff about the Banker ball, the Dime Lab, I think is his ball. Nike Championship ball, some others that are hard for me to get, man. I encourage you to do two things. I encourage you to send the videos to the manufacturers of the balls you want me to review and tell them to reach out to me. Wilson did it. Others can do it as well. And I think that'll help me get a little bit more traction. And with your help, you get to see some of the balls next to each other. Right now I have a nice little collection of these balls. Got to be a better way to say that. But it becomes easier to compare and contrast and do videos about the differences between them and the similarities between them when you have them on hand. And I think that's what people are after. When I first made the channel, it started with one video reviewing every ball that I had. And the reason I did it is because when I first started looking for myself, there was nothing like that. It was cell phone videos and other stuff that was hard to kind of digest and hard to do comparisons on. But this is really, I think, what people are after. I know it was what I was after. And I hope that we're able to continue doing this on the channel. So that said, the Duke. This is the official NFL ball. Notice the color, okay? The color that you see on Sunday, a lot different than that. We'll talk about this. I think there's a lot to the reason this ball is made this way, the laces and whatnot. But first, the things that we always talk about. Let's go into a little bit of detail here about the leather. This is Wilson's red, pink kind of leather. I think it is the same color as the F2000, if I had to guess. You'll notice my eyes kind of drifting to the screen here. This ball was very similar in color to the Duke when I first got it. This has been through one round of conditioning, a lot of brushing, and actually a little bit of power drill brush too. So you see this is breaking in really nice. I expect this will do the same, but these are the same color. Compare this, of course, to the GST brown, right? Talked about this on the channel many times. Compare this to the Dime rapid break-in equivalent, right? Very dark. And then compare this to a ball that's rising up, my favorites here, the Omega rapid break-in. Look at that shine. I did a video on this the other day, just a short on Wilson's new video breaking that in. A couple differences though. Look at the size difference, right? That's a little longer, the Duke, than the Omega. It, I think, is a little longer too than the F2000. I'll try not to drop these balls on the ground here, but it's a little bigger than the F2000, I think. Maybe a tiny bit, maybe not. And almost certainly is going to be longer than the Dime. Yeah, I think that's safe to say. And as far as the GST comparison, I think it's pretty close, but still a little longer and may even be a little more bulbous in the middle. So let's talk about the ball. The ball has almost none of the features you've come to expect from Wilson balls. Short of the high quality leather, Horween as always, manufactured in Idaho like I mentioned, or Ohio I should say like I mentioned. Couple things to notice on this ball that you may like or not like right away. The big one for me immediately is this logo, the stamp. If you look at the other Wilson balls, okay, the GST, it's upside down, but it doesn't matter. That Wilson W is in fact stamped on, but there's leather in between it. The Wilson Omega, same thing. Big stamp, leather in between, both sides, right? There's lots of leather there. We could look at the F2000. The Wilson foil is sort of at the top, right? Not going to really bother the receiver. They have a bit of a U Sports logo there, but compared to that Duke logo, I don't know, man. That Duke logo, awfully big. It's probably like 30, 20% bigger, maybe something like that. And then, of course, maybe the closest comparison is the Dime. But the Dime, this logo is pretty sticky, I would say. A little bit of stick there. Maybe it's just because I've used it. And then you compare that to the Duke. The Duke's logo is pretty big. So why does that matter? There's not really much grip on this, that part. I don't know if that makes a huge difference. I haven't ever caught a Duke. I've been playing receiver in leagues for a long time. I've caught a lot of balls, not to toot my own horn, but I've never caught one of these. So I don't know really if this is a thing that's going to affect the way that you grip the ball. That's number one. Number two, no tracking on this bad boy. So as you know, every other ball has the stripes of a different nature, right? The Wilsons love the stitched in leather inlays. You get the GST, right? Track it. The Dime, Track It. I got balls up there, Team Issue, Dual Threat, the Prime, another GST, a lot of tracking. These ones, no tracking. So that it might matter to you. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me. Like, I don't ever play in a condition where it's like dark. If you were at the park, maybe, you know, trying to get one in before your mom whistled for dinner, then maybe that would bother you. This doesn't bother me that much, but something to note. And then the third thing that's different is the laces. Now, on the GSTs, right, what do you have? The ACL laces, famously, those nice black ones there on the GST. ACL laces on the F2000 ball, right? Looks great. You have them on the Omega as well. Now, the ACL laces are great laces on the Wilson stuff, and they're great for two reasons. One is because they're raised and a little easier to get your hands on than these ones will be. These are still leather laces, but these are basically a no frills kind of lace. The other reason, though, I think that the ACL laces are good is because you don't need a lot of break-in to use the laces on a ball that hasn't been used other places. So, for example, when you get a ball, this ball is still a little slick to the touch. Good stick, good sound, but still a little slick to the touch. Receivers are not going to love this ball yet. But as a quarterback, you can definitely still throw this ball pretty well because those laces are easy to grab. You get your hands on those, and this thing is going to fly. Okay, you can spin that, no problem. Receivers, you know, they complain enough as it is. They're going to complain even more about that. But this ball is not that easy to get your hands on. Now, it doesn't mean the laces are necessarily smaller in footprint. You know, Wilson does a really good job when it comes to QC on lace footprint. Look at that. Basically identical, right, ball to ball. And even though they're a little bit less pronounced in terms of the raised nature, like you know, the level at which they're raised off the ball, they are still the same footprint. I think that's about 11 centimeters, right? Pretty sure that's the width, something like that. I have to look at the other videos I've done, but they're about the same. The reason I think they do this, and the reason I think they don't do it with the ACL laces, and that the other balls that are more widely used in rec, high schools, colleges, whatever, have the ACL laces, is because NFL teams who use this ball all have extensive break-in processes. You can go online and see guys literally going through days of break-in with power brushes, mud, other like proprietary techniques. There's a guy who I think works for the Chargers who does a pretty good video on breaking this ball in. I bet this ball breaks in really well, but I also think that if you don't break it in, you can't really rely on the laces to give you a lot of extra grip. Like these laces don't have the nub that I'm always talking about, right? Like these things are gonna slide off for sure. But I don't think at the level that you're playing at, if you're playing with an NFL ball, you know, like the NFL quarterbacks are not complaining the same way I'm, you know, whining and complaining about laces. But all that said, I do think that's the difference. So we could talk a little bit about the quality and fit and finish on the ball. Stamping's great. Love the stamping. Everything's very clearly legible. The NFL logo, though big, has almost no imperfections, if any at all. You got Goodell's signature there, Mr. Deflate himself. Yeah, this is a high quality ball. I would recommend this ball for somebody who doesn't mind a break-in process. I'm gonna break this in and do a video about it. I may just go full power drill brushing, full power drill brush instead of the manual brush, just to show you that that works too. And I'm not gonna use any shaving cream or anything like that. This ball, like all the Wilson balls, has a lot of tack and wax built in, so you can really see that, right? A lot of different like colors on the ball. That's all tack and wax. These guys add to their process at Horween. And there's no doubt this makes a big difference, and the ball will darken quite well. I'm not going to use mud. I'm not going to use anything else. Maybe one other thing we can talk about is the dive between the laces and the tip of the ball. Pretty significantly different than what you see on the Omega, for example. Hard to center that there. But it's a much more gradual dip and a longer ball, where the Omega is a quick dip and a little bit of a shorter ball in terms of body width, or body length, I should say. GST, we can do a similar comp. You notice right away that the dip in the GST is faster. It's not quite as gradual. And I mentioned the ball being shorter. That's a result. I think at least a little bit of that dip. F2000, same deal. Looks about the same as the GSTs do in terms of dip. No stitch in leather there, obviously, but you do see the difference in terms of the angle from the end of the laces to the tip of the ball. And then we'll do the dime, which is maybe the weirdest shaped ball I have, but still feels good to throw. That's a huge difference. I mean, you could tell that right away, right? this thing looks like an egg compared to this thing. That's no doubt, right? There's no doubt. So I would say this is a ball you should buy if you're looking for a longer break-in process. You don't mind busting it up a little bit and playing with it with your buddies. You can get this on Amazon here in Canada for about $200. Litson's has it. You can get it on the Wilson website. Wilson sent me this one, so I should thank them for that as well. I like this ball. I want to break it in because I think the more I play quarterback, and I mentioned this in another video, the more I throw, the less I care about the laces and the more I care about finding the tip of the ball as best I can. And I think if you break in a ball like this, one thing I haven't said before, maybe I've said it, but I'll say it here. The more you start looking for the tip of the ball, the more the laces are inhibiting getting your fingers on the tip than they are helping it get your fingers on the tip. What do I mean by that? I would love to be able to throw a ball, you know, something like just like that, right? With your fingers just kind of barely on the laces. But if your fingers are barely on, you know, it's like a weird, it's so hard to describe. I'm gonna try. It's just like a weird feeling. It doesn't feel stable, sturdy in your hand. It feels like when you go through your motion, you know, you're kind of, when you set your base and unload, you might lose the ball. I think if this was really soft leather, like the GST is, you know, the GST's gone through some break-in and it's gone through a few games. If this was really soft, man, and you could get your hands on the tip like that, you wouldn't be thinking about the laces at all. You could put your pinky finger anywhere, for example, because it's a lot flatter on the ball. You don't have to worry about like having too little or too much of the lace because you're barely touching it. It's a nice guide for sure, but you don't need it the same way you, I think, need it on a ball like the F2000 or the Dime or the GST. And actually, I think Wilson's done a good job avoiding this in some other balls. The Prime, for example, has the laces off the ball, or has the stitching off the ball and off the stripe. Omega, same thing, has the laces off, or the stitching off and the striping off, so you can throw off lace. So this one doesn't have any of that stuff, but I still think it'd probably be pretty friendly to throw off lace or close. I was watching some videos of some NFL quarterbacks over the last like day or two, just because my Instagram feed is like all Achilles rehab and ankle mobility and throwing, basically. Shout to Meta for getting me pinned down exactly correct. A lot of quarterbacks don't use the laces. Maybe because they don't have time to get the lace, maybe because they're doing these read option plays or RPOs, and maybe because they just don't like it. But yeah, this is a great ball. You notice here as well, it has all the Wilson stamps in the leather. You can kind of see a few of them there. The Authenticity W. I'm a little far away from the camera, so I can't like zoom it in further than that. But I think this is a good ball. I look forward to trying with this ball, and I look forward to breaking it in. And if you guys have any questions you want me to compare with some others, I'm happy to do it. Let me know. I'm going to be busy the next little while because by the time you see this, I should have my first child. So you may not hear much from this channel for a bit, but I will be back with a buyer's guide, hopefully, sometime in November. And we'll compare everything. We'll talk about a few of the commonly asked questions between balls: laces, leather, break-in time, ease of use, cost, availability here in Canada, all that good stuff. All right? So thank you for watching. Thank you again for all your support of the channel. And until next time, my friends, happy throwing.